This was actually my first time ever to the state of Mississippi. We stayed along the coast, so there's just a small section in Mississippi down the Gulf to cross through. Just pulled into Buccaneer State Park here in Mississippi. Two things. Number one, Mississippi, I was not aware of your Gulf Shore game. It was really awesome. We came over on 90 and beautiful area. Tons of nice houses. And then here at this state park, we did a little YouTube research on it. Great state park, but it's also just in a really sweet location on the water and very well taken care of. Looks really good. Found a Lowe's. I'm gonna see if they have any heat tape for sale. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but it got pretty cold the last couple of nights here when we were staying in Alabama. And the dump valves on the camper, if you're not familiar, the black waste, which is your toilet, is a 3-inch pipe, and then the gray water is 1.5 inches. And I think my 1.5 inches has frozen up. I wasn't able to dump it when we were leaving, and would put some heat tape. I guess this cold spell kind of everywhere. We're so far south, I didn't think we'd be dealing with any kind of temperatures like this, or I probably would have had it in part of my kit. But I think it's supposed to get a little cool tonight before it starts warming up. See if Lowe's has some heat tape I can wrap around it. Hoping I didn't break the valve and it's just a little stuck with ice. Just got the Buccaneer here getting set up with the sewer and water. We're gonna fill our tank. It's gonna get cold again. But luckily, the gray water tank drained when we got here. So that pipe only being 1.5 inches, we haven't put the heat tape on it yet, which I'll probably still put it on if it's gonna freeze tonight. The 1.5 inch pipe was just enough to freeze where we were at the last stop. We were there for 3 or 4 days without dumping tanks, and it was just enough buildup over the days. So I'm glad I didn't break the valve or anything, and it was just a little bit of ice, but it seems to cleared, being up in about 49-degree weather on the drive over. Buccaneer State Park is located in Waveland, Mississippi, right on the beach along the Gulf of America. Its address is 1150 South Beach Boulevard in Waveland, Mississippi. It's a lush, natural coastal setting with moss-draped live oaks, tidal marshlands, and direct beach access. Great for a classic Gulf Coast vibe with white sands, scenic views, the works. This place is gorgeous. The park spans about 400 acres, and it's one of Mississippi's premier coastal state parks, as you might expect. The park itself was destroyed in Hurricane Katrina, and it was completely rebuilt after that. Hurricane Katrina was really devastating. I'll get into that here shortly. 160-mile-per-hour winds and massive storm surge. So it was closed from the hurricane in 2005 until it reopened in 2013 with some modern upgrades at that point. And some little history of this area. So the use of this land, I think, was first recorded way back in the 1700s, late 1700s, when Jean Lafitte and his followers were active in smuggling and pirating along the coast. The French buccaneer Lafitte inhabited the old pirate house located just a short distance from where the park is now. Pirate hats! The park site has a little other history also. It's also known as Jackson's Ridge. It was used as a base of military operations by Andrew Jackson during the Battle of New Orleans. Jackson also later returned to this area, and he actually built a house on the land that is now Buccaneer State Park. So, fun facts there, pretty interesting. But as far as the campground itself goes, there are around 206 premium campsites with full hookup, water, electric, 30 and 50 amp and 20 plugs, and sewer. Very RV friendly. They have recently just added on 44 new luxury campsites, some with concrete pads, patios, extra parking for golf views as well. And they have some primitive spots too, as a lot of these state parks do for you. But the campground itself is pet friendly, with clean bathhouses, and fairly clean, I should say, including heated showers at times, laundry, and there's a dump station if you don't have full hookups or you need to dump before you hit the road. But they do have quite a bit going on. Now, we were here in February, so a lot of the stuff was shut down for the winter, but they have a water park here on site called Buccaneer Bay Waterpark. It's a 4.5 acre park with a wave pool, water slides, lazy river, and then some little kid areas as well. I think it's usually open Memorial Day through the summer. They open up, but we didn't get a chance to partake, unfortunately. And then they have a Pirates Alley nature trail. It's a scenic 1.8 mile trail through the oaks and the marshlands, perfect for nature walks. And they have 18-hole disc golf course, or I think they call it Jackson's Ridge Disc Golf. A few people were playing when we were there. We saw a few different groups seem to be enjoying themselves. And then they've got playground, picnic areas, and so forth. But when we came through, so we came from Alabama, as you might remember from the prior video, hugged the coast through Biloxi, Mississippi. Absolute stunning drive. The hugging the coast is the only way to go. And it wasn't a huge, long drive from where we were staying prior in Alabama, but it sure was pretty. And this campground, I think we paid $47 per night, if I recall correctly. It was under $50. And our campsite was pretty large. It had a little bit of privacy. There was some growth and some trees around, not blotting out the sky. We were still able to get full Starlink, which was fantastic. We usually try not to get too shaded, just because it really hinders the Starlink, but we had a clear sky, which was perfect. We had a large fixed in place picnic table. I think it was a concrete base with a really thick wooden top, on a concrete pad that was separated from where we parked. The site is paved for the RV, so just a path, which is nice. And when you're backing in and out of it, and stay out of the dirt and the mud, sometimes they're a little more level from time to time, so that was nice. But yeah, overall, it was a decent campsite. And there's a bunch of different ones, obviously, but they all seem to be somewhat similar, except for some of the ones out front by the golf. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But they did have the shower house. I don't know if it was every loop or every other loop, but there was a main shower house out towards the entrance of the loops to the campground. There was definitely a handful of them. And they had hot water. I think that we were there in some pretty cold days. They had the waters dripping, our faucets running to keep anything from freezing. And I didn't think that they were very popular or being used that often, I would say. And then they also had a laundry facility. I did take a look at this. They were near the camp store up on a stilted building. The camp store is up on a stilted building. Well, a lot of buildings around here are up on pilings now because of the Hurricane Katrina. But they only take quarters, the laundry facility. And I want to say I'll show a video if I have it, maybe around $2 per machine, which isn't bad. And but they didn't have a change machine, and the camp store didn't have quarters for sale or exchange. The front check-in gate, she had a handful, but they're definitely not prepared to be able to give you quarters, so keep that in mind. Get your quarters stocked up. I mean, I think every quarter-only laundry facility should have a change machine, but maybe they used to and just don't have it anymore. Something else they don't have, I think on the map and even the website they have mentioned, is an arcade. And when we tried to find it, we were told that it was no longer there or had been removed. So no arcade if you're looking to check that out. They did have a dog park. So over near the camp store right next door, they had a pretty good size dog park, only one gated area. So for all sizes, it didn't separate by small and large. But they had very tall chain link fences. So if you have a jumper, well, your dog likes to escape, this may be able to keep them contained. So it's like a 6 or 7 foot chain link fence. But Lily loved it here. She did pull us to the dog park pretty much any day she could. We visited quite often, and she did make a friend. She met a miniature poodle friend as well, and they got to play around a little bit. So Some other stuff they have going on, and even in the winter, they got a small playground area just outside the check-in station. Kind of open area. There's some picnic areas as well, and then they had a little playground there. But with me not being to Mississippi before, I sure the heck didn't realize it was this pretty. This place is beautiful. The area is beautiful. We were here at the beginning of February, so the weather was a little colder, but the beaches, the sunsets, everything was gorgeous. The park entrance when you pull in is literally directly across from the golf. And on the golf side, there's really not much built on that side of the road. It's just kind of sand and open beach. They had some walking paths up by the road, but sand everywhere. You can walk pretty far out too. So there in the golf, it was very shallow, low tide most of the time. I don't think it changes too much right there, and you could walk out pretty far without even getting water up to your knees. So it would be nice maybe to go out further and do some swimming if it was a little bit warmer, but we were happy to get our feet wet, I guess. Directly across the street from the campground entrance or the park entrance here, you have all this beach. Low tide during the day, at least right now in January, but really pretty. Kind of walk around checking things out. But it's really shallow here. Even with high tide, I bet you could do a lot of wading and go pretty far out if it was a little warmer. But we did ride our bikes quite a bit. So this is definitely another bike-friendly place. We rode over to the beach on that warmer day. Just a beautiful little setup. And then I mentioned earlier some of the different campsites. So they have these, I assume they're just the premium sites. They're right on the bay, or at least right across the street from the bay. So beautiful views from your campground. Maybe a little bit windier. The road that runs by there is only 25 miles per hour. So I wouldn't say it was super busy. But even so, I don't think the road noise being generated at 25 miles per hour is going to probably keep you up at night. But pretty cool. I mean, they had some park model rentals there too, a couple like a powder blue park models. A little bit different setup, kind of a horizontal design, but they had them facing the bay. I believe these are, there was two of them. I can't tell. They might be putting more in. They had quite a few sites there. They might be putting more of the park models in. And then just really nice beach area. We really enjoyed it. Went over there a couple times to check it out, and really pretty.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
They did have, so this park has its own swimming pool. This once again is up by the dog park and the camp store and the laundry facility. A pretty large pool. I don't think it was very deep. I think it was like 3.5 feet, and they had a waterfall kind of circulating the water, and that was all on. It looked clean, but it was closed for the winter. It looked very nice. I assume they just don't heat it and don't want to pay to heat it, especially with some of the colder weather we dealt with while we were there. But it looked nice. If you're there in the warmer season, you know, something to take advantage of. Pretty cool. And then I mentioned the water park, obviously closed for the winter, right? But it's called Buccaneer Bay Waterpark. Looked like a bunch of fun. Had some slides, lazy river, wave pool, a little bit of everything going on. And I think for a state park, we might have ran into one other, maybe a couple other parks that had water parks in them, which was cool. And I'm sure there's a separate purchase for you to visit there, but pretty neat though. Have a state park and have a full water park. I can imagine in the summer between the beach, the pool on site, and the water park, there'd be so much outdoor activities that maybe we'll be able to take advantage of something like that when we're passing back through in the warmer weather. We'll see. So, Hurricane Katrina and the history of this place. So, with us being from up north, I mean, I remember hearing all about Katrina. I mean, it was 21 years ago, 2005. But I believe most of my understanding, or at least the news and how it was developed, I think we just mainly heard about New Orleans, about Hurricane Katrina. I didn't realize what the significance of where we were staying at Buccaneer in this town of Waveland, Mississippi. So Waveland is considered ground zero of Hurricane Katrina. We're heading over, there's actually less than 3 miles, there's what they call Waveland's Ground Zero, a Hurricane Katrina museum. And we didn't realize that Waveland, Mississippi is actually ground zero for Hurricane Katrina, where the eye of the storm hit the land. Evidently did so much damage here on the infrastructure and as well as all the buildings. But we've been recommended to go to a couple of different people camping, recommended that we go check this place out. So looking forward to learning a little bit more about that. The hurricane made landfall on August 29, 2005. The I crossed near the Louisiana-Mississippi border on, if you're familiar, Pearl River area. And Waveland was literally directly in the path of the storm. It became known as ground zero for the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Winds at landfall were over 120 miles per hour. They had storm surges of 30 feet high, which is insane to think of. A 3-story wall of water coming on the land. Insane. They, I guess in the surge, pushed all the way up 10 miles inland, just due to the low-lying coastal geography here. And we read some different things, and I'll talk about it. We checked out a museum they have, but a lot of the locals had been through a prior hurricane back in 1969 called Hurricane Camille. It was pretty bad, but a lot of the buildings held up, and a lot of people survived. So there was, unfortunately, people kind of making that decision. Do we ride out the hurricane? Is it going to hit us hard? Well, we survived Camille, but Katrina was way more devastating than Camille, and the surge was far more destructive. I think that it was like 90% of the structures were destroyed or severely damaged. Homes, businesses, the churches, schools wiped off the map. Hancock County, where this is located, I think over 10,000 homes were lost. The entire police force had to form a human chain and treaded water, hugging trees to survive, to get away. They had immediate response, right? If you remember, National Guard, FEMA, there's 900,000 plus volunteers from 48 states. Debris removal, I think, took over a year and a half. And, they had some temporary housing and gymnasiums. We saw a lot of photographs and imaging here while we were at the museum. And they had people living in like parking lots of the school building, and had tents set up, and it was pretty insane, really. Pretty insane to think about. They had billions of grants just for rebuilding the infrastructure, sewer, water, gas. So this Waveland wasn't just, they didn't lose some houses, but evidently they lost their entire infrastructure. So there was a bunch of money, federal money, that went to that. The infrastructure itself, municipal buildings, right? City Hall, police, fire stations. Police station, I guess, was just completed in 2016. Now there's obviously stricter building codes, and most of the homes now that are being built are elevated up to 24 foot on pilings. Some of them even higher, it seems like. Maybe they're going to that 30 or 31 based on the prior, but some of them are sitting really tall. I guess there was some rebuilding happening at the beginning. There's volunteers who rebuilt many of the low-income homes. The museum that we went to, Ground Zero Hurricane Museum, opened in 2013. And this was the only building that they were saying that was survived on Main Street. Now, it was damaged. It was disheveled, but it technically survived compared to what was around it. It was an old school building from 1927, and still had good bones, evidently. They've got all kinds of different features here, debris artifacts. There's stories from survivors. There's a wall of remembrance of the people that have passed. There's a special exhibit. There's over like 1,000 kids who sent letters to Santa, written right after Katrina, answered by volunteers. And it had the 20-year anniversary just last year in 2025. Recovery is described here as one day at a time. Kind of, I guess, maybe a little surprised, but it's after 21 years, now 20 years, there's still a lot to go, a lot more to build. I think there's, some different theories on why Waveland hasn't fully recovered. They lost about 20% of the population being displaced and just never returning as part of it. But they also have, some economic barriers with high insurance rates, construction costs, and flood risks were made rebuilding a lot more expensive, so people just bowed out and chose not to. They have new codes, raised the home prices out a lot of the original low-income homes or families. And there were definitely some nicer homes that had been built more recently, and they were still building some, but big gap. It's going to be a while, I think, before they get back to full numbers here. But I'm really, really glad we got to visit. My son had a great time. I think it was very educational, not only for my son, but my wife and I, just everything we didn't know. And this area and kind of being there, kind of hit a little harder, I think. And they had some photographs of what the town looked like before And then, you know, you're just driving up here and everything's either new build or there's just empty pads, just concrete slabs or concrete steps that used to be there. And there used to be a bunch of docks that evidently are piers, private piers out on the Gulf side, and there's just posts there. Most of them have all been ripped away and they just never got replaced. But attached to the museum, they have a bakery, or I guess it's inside. It's called Sugar Pop Baking Company, owned by Renee, was it Loringer, if I'm pronouncing that correctly? She's from Waveland. She's a resident, but I guess she has some local fame. She won some Food Network baking competition, and she used that money to open up this bakery, which is pretty cool. Give it a little more history here. I think that opened in 2021. And it's housed inside the museum, the auditorium, known for fresh pastries. I guess they're pretty popular. They often sell out. And they have also some lunch options too, sandwiches and Reubens, po' boys, smash burgers, things like that on certain days. But yeah, we dabbled a little bit, got some sweets and checked it out. But I think overall, we really, really like this area and Buccaneer State Park. I think just the whole Gulf side of Mississippi we were impressed with, but really pretty. I recommend the visit if you're coming through this area. Beautiful. There's lots to do, especially in the summer between the pools and everything else going on. Lots happening. But up next, we are heading to Louisiana, and we're actually staying at a beautiful state park called, the American butchering of this, Fontainebleau State Park. I think the French might pronounce it a little bit differently, but it's right along Lake Pontchartrain and just north of New Orleans. Really pretty. We take in some Mardi Gras festivities and learn more about the carnival season and the history. So a lot to learn at this place too. I'm actually looking forward to getting that one out. And if you're still with me, I appreciate it. And I'll get this one moving as soon as I can. See you then. Thanks.